Ball returns to LaSalle for its first home game, while I witness LaSalle Lacrosse's annihilation of Delaware State. Hello, I'm Jake Smolinski.
And I'm Brendan Rigby. Women's basketball finishes its season after 2 rounds in the A10 tournament as the men's team prepares for the same. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine. I have the... Salutations, viewers. Jake and I behind desk for you on this one. Jake's got something special. His tale of LaSalle Lacrosse in a game that will horrify future opponents. Later, Anna Gomez sits with 2 rugby players.
That's right, Brendan, but there is more. Bethany Lowe joins us for some more exploring headlines before Mickey Kelly gives us his marquee matchup. But first, let's catch up on what went down this past week for our athletes. Women's track traveled to the highly competitive ECAC and IC4A Indoor Championships in Boston. In the preliminaries on Saturday the 8th, Kaylee Solano struggled in the 800 meter, running 7 seconds behind the entry standard to fall behind the 19-person field. But the senior rebounded in the women's 4x800 meter relay. The dynamite team of Solano, Teo Tyler, Kate Conville, and Shannon Dwyer ran the relay in 8 minutes and 55 seconds, advancing them to the finals and beating a 2013 program record by 2 seconds. The next day, the women returned to the track against 20 other teams, pacing their way into 8th place with a time of 9 minutes and 1 second.
The men's track and field team officially ended their winter season at the ECACs as well. Momentum began with Justin Guerra's 12th place performance in the 60-meter dash. The freshman ran a personal best with a time of 6.9 seconds. Up next, Vince Perozzi and Stephen Lewandowski raced in the mile. Perozzi finished with a time of 4 minutes and 14 seconds, with Lewandowski a second behind. Freshman Nick Smart competed in the 800-meter run, finishing with a time of 1 minute and 57 seconds. Chris Tremble competed in the 1,000-meter run with a time of 2 minutes and 35 seconds. The men will kick off their spring season in 2 weeks at the Big 5 Invitational.
And after a string of cancellations in North Carolina for the first half of the season, the softball team finally got to take on Stetson in Florida during spring break. However, the Explorers were only able to score 1 run in back-to-back losses against the Hatters. A week-long series of games, they also took on Kansas and Tennessee at Chattanooga for 2 brutal losses. Finally, in the last weekend doubleheader against Stetson, and after losing the first game 4-13, LaSalle closed out their time down in Florida with a win. The Explorers hit their stride with 2 home runs, courtesy of Christina Bascara and Michelle Haggerty. To top it off, Mary Kate Scott pitched 5 scoreless innings, her best performance of the abbreviated season. LaSalle clinched the win 5-3. This brings their record to 1-5 as they head out to Baltimore for their next string of games.
Explorer Baseball hit the road over spring break for a pair of 3-game series. First stop, Nashville, Tennessee on Lipscomb University's home field. The Explorers fell short in all 3 matchups with the Bisons, being outscored 28-12 in the series. The finale proved to be the closest game, with LaSalle losing 7-5. Freddie Underjar surrendered 3 runs in the first inning, while Mark Williams contributed a sacrifice fly and an RBI. After a canceled game against Tennessee Tech, the Explorers headed to North Carolina. UNC Asheville hosted a game that featured blue and gold dominance at the plate. LaSalle outscored the Bulldogs 31-10 in the series. Ryan Welling provided some key batting with 9 RBIs. The Explorers returned to Hank DeVincent Field for their home opener against Villanova. The Wildcats smacked in a single run in the first inning, and then 6 more in the second against Tom Fazzini. Welling launched his 3rd homer of the season in the 5th inning, but the momentum proved not enough despite superb pitching from the bullpen. The Explorers pitched 7 scoreless innings, but fell short 7-3. It's a little upsetting to see the baseball team falter after such a strong start, but on a bright note, as you mentioned, softball team picking up that win at the end in their stint in Florida.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, when they're making these, traveling all the way down to Florida and everything, they're playing at some of the top-ranked teams in the nation. I think this honestly just good preparation, though, as they get moving into the A10, though. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. You gotta start somewhere. A little late than better late than never. But momentum is key. So, anyway, now on to women's basketball. On Sunday, March 1st, the team hosted the St. Joe Hawks in their final game of the regular season. After a tied first half, the Explorers fell short on senior day by a score of 67-55, ending the regular season with a 14-15 record. On March 4th, the team began A10 championship play against the Davidson Wildcats. Micaiah Owens tallied a career-high 24 points, and Siobhan Beslow added a career-high 13 rebounds to thrust the blue and gold into the second round by a score of 74-63.
And the squad was back out on the court again the following night to take on the Rhode Island Rams in round 2. The Explorers jumped ahead midway through the first half and managed to extend their lead on several occasions while the Rams fought back to keep the game close. Going into halftime, LaSalle led 29-23. But things took a turn in half 2 when the blue and gold failed to make their field goals and allowed the Rams to close the gap and take the lead. With under 5 minutes to play, the Explorers put together a 12-4 run to take the lead 52-51. The teams traded points for the next few minutes until a 3 gave RIU the momentum and forced a foul. LaSalle was never able to regain the lead, losing the contest and ending their season 65-60.
Well, after 2 tough losses on the road, the men's basketball team's losing ways continued at home as they lost to Rhode Island 59-56. Jarrell Wright led the Explorers with 23 points, and the men would then have to travel to Hawk Hill, where they fell to St. Joe's 55-50. Excuse me. Jordan Price was the blue and gold scoring leader, totaling 17 points in the matchup. The Explorers returned home for senior night and their final game of the season against the Dayton Flyers. Seniors DJ Peterson, Jarrell Wright, and Steve Zach were honored at midcourt before tip-off for their time as Explorers. As for the game itself, the blue and gold snapped their 4-game losing streak just in time for the A10 tournament. The lead was shared and swapped between both teams before LaSalle pulled away with a Jarrell Wright dunk. This sparked a 7-point run with 3:44 left to play to give them a 46-39 lead. Jordan Price led the team with 21 points, while Wright had a double-double of 11 points and 10 rebounds. LaSalle held on to upset the Flyers 55-53.
On the other hand, men's tennis had itself an unhappy spring break, falling to Lafayette 6-1. Deshaun Fennell proved to be one of the lone highlights for the Explorers, adding his point after winning back-to-back sets in 6-2 and 6-3 respectively. Brian Balico would come close in his own singles, losing 6-3 and 7-5. He would tag in fellow sophomore Mark Robinson for doubles play, but they lost another close one of 8-7. Despite the state of the Belfield courts here at LaSalle, after weeks of poor weather, the Explorers will welcome Dayton on Saturday the 14th at 11 a.m.
Spring break was odd for the lacrosse team, with things beginning poorly as they lost to Jacksonville University in Florida by a score of 16-7. The loss began with a 3-1 run by the Dolphins that snowballed throughout the game. Sophomore Allie Ilgenfritz was the lone highlight, earning her 3rd hat trick of the season. Next up, LaSalle remained in Jacksonville to face Kennesaw State. At 1-5, the Owls were in the wrong place at the wrong time, with the Explorers looking to snap a 3-game losing streak. The blue and gold featured 10 players that scored, with both Caitlin Fay and Caitlin Brostrand tallying hat tricks, and Fay adding an assist to bring her total game points to 4. Sophomore goalkeeper Gabby Antonelli played 48 minutes and made 6 saves as LaSalle rolled to 17-2 win over Kennesaw State. But that is not the story that the viewers are waiting for, Jake.
I mean, we got to see a little bit of a taste against Kennesaw State. Like, you know, that's a pretty big win. But when I ended up showing up late for the lacrosse game, I'm sorry, but I managed to come over by the first half, 14-2, huge lead. It was crazy. I don't even know what to do about this lacrosse team right now. So yeah, I don't know. Can I just go back to script?
Go for it.
I'm going to go back to
right
script. Now. All right. So I got the chance to get some footage of the game on Wednesday 11th versus Delaware State. When I had to arrive to McCarthy Stadium around an hour late due to night class. Listen, we don't just sit around here drinking coffee in the studio waiting for the news to come to us. Anyways, I was not prepared for the destruction that was taking place. So by the end of the first half, LaSalle had racked up 14 points to Delaware's 2. So now, as I started filming in the beginning of the second, all that could follow was probably complete annihilation. So within 30 seconds, Kendall Lupaniak scored after cutting away through the Delaware backfield. A few minutes later, LaSalle capitalized off a penalty to drive home another point. This influx of scoring was no fluke, though. The Exploring offense was as tight as ever, with Caitlin Fay scoring 5 goals on the night. As for goalie Gabby Antonelli, she was an iron wall backed by an even tougher defense. And to quote the girl filming the game for Delaware, "This was the worst blowout we've seen all season." Regardless, it was a mildly depressing game to watch, but also an affirmation of the Explorers' growth moving into the second half of their season.
Well, it's wow. It's really nice to see lacrosse bouncing back. They had that 3-game losing streak in the middle of the season after they had that nice overtime win to kick it off.
Yeah.
But
listen, when I showed up there and I just witnessed, it was like watching a professional team take on a bunch of kindergartners. And I'm sorry, Delaware State, that must have been just really uncomfortable. That was a long game. That's all I'm going to say.
And what a spring break it was. This takes us to our first commercial break, but stick around.
We'll be back with Anna Gomez's sit-down with rugby players Austin Gallagher and Jeff Leroux.
And later, we'll have exploring headlines with the lovely Bethany Lowe before Mickey Kelly's marquee matchup. Stay tuned.
Have you ever
Had someone repeatedly put their hands on you even though you were saying no?
been threatened into an unwanted sexual activity? Each year, there are almost 300,000 victims of sexual assault,
Unwanted touching,
attempted rape, and committed rape
and even receiving sexually threatening messages.
are all forms of sexual assault.
Anyone can be a victim.
No matter the age, gender, or ethnicity, take a stand.
Against sexual assault.
Cyberbullying comes in many forms and can happen 24/7. If you or someone you know is a victim of cyberbullying, take preventative and assertive action. Keep evidence and document all instances. Remember to record dates, times, descriptions, and also save and print screenshots. Block your cyberbully and present your evidence to school officials or law enforcement. No one deserves to be a victim of cyberbullying, and together we can end it. For more information, visit stopbullying.com.
I didn't think this could happen to me.
I just wanted to feel pretty.
I just put my drink down for a second.
I didn't want to hurt her. I didn't want to fight back.
Welcome back. The club rugby team aims to make a name for itself this season, and Anna Gomez has the story after speaking with two of its club members. So, check it out.
Hello, my name is Anna Gomez, and I am here on the sidelines with two of our members from LaSalle's men's rugby team, Austin Gallagher and Jeff Leroux.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So let's just get right into it. Talk a little bit about the transition from the fall into the spring season.
Our biggest difference is in the fall we play 15, so it's 15 people on the field and it's a much longer game. In the spring we play sevens and it's a much shorter game, more strategy, so it's more of the transition between the two types of games and perfecting them for our upcoming tournaments.
Gotcha. So the biggest challenge in going into the spring, how do you think that transition went for you guys?
I think it's gone pretty well so far. I mean, we have our first tournament coming up in 2 weeks and tournament from there on out. And I think it's really coming together right now.
Good, good. So what's your strategy going in now? 'Cause you had a pretty successful season last year.
Yes.
So what's the strategy going in now?
Hit the ground running, just start where we left off, just keep up the hard work. We have a great group of guys and we could win, we could go far. So it's just keeping that motivation and playing hard.
What about you, Jeff?
I think we had a great season last year, but we have a pretty new set of players this year. It's definitely not the same team as it was last year. We have a couple returning veterans, but the biggest thing is to just really just get a feel for the game. Not a lot of us have a good grasp of how, especially sevens, is played, and I think that's our biggest hill to climb.
Yeah, the first couple tournaments is just learning the game, getting in there, and perfecting it for this big tournament coming up in May.
So you just spoke about that. Tell us a little bit about the tournament in May. I know there's a lot of hype going around.
May 30th and 31st, it's the Collegiate Rugby Championship called the CRCs. It's the top 20 teams in the country and all the City 6 teams competing at PPL Park in Chester. It's the March Madness of rugby is what it basically is. And it's sevens. It's the biggest tournament of the year, best competition in the country, and it's a huge spotlight for all the City 6 teams and LaSalle rugby in general. And it's a great tournament.
Good. So the energy going into there, it has to be exciting. I mean, there's tons of teams happening. It's the big thing. So are you guys excited for it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, very excited for it. It's the best rugby in the country. It really is a privilege to play, and it's going to be such an amazing event.
Yeah, it'd be great to finally get there. We've been focusing on it all year, just working towards that. It's going to be great to finally get in there and play.
So all season, you guys have been working for this. Tell me a little bit about kind of the camaraderie you guys have been building. It's definitely part of the teamwork you guys have been building on all season. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, absolutely. Rugby is all about knowing who's next to you and what they're going to do on the field. It comes hand in hand, playing rugby, brotherhood, camaraderie. We're always hanging out on and off the field. I mean, half of us all live together. It's great. We're all best friends. And it just comes with playing rugby all the time.
Yeah, whenever LaSalle talks, whenever people talk about it at men's rugby, they always talk about how good friends everyone is on that team.
Yes.
So it must be really exciting to be a part of that.
Yes, it is.
All right. So just real quick, tell me about the worst injury.
You can take this one.
I would say the worst injury I've ever saw was last fall. It was definitely Pat's injury.
Yeah, one of our guys broke his ankle, getting tackled awkwardly.
On the field?
Yeah, on the field. And you just heard the pop from the sideline. Yeah, but he's all good now. He's back and playing.
The foot did not look.
Yeah, the foot didn't look good afterward, but it's better now.
Straight.
Yeah. But that was definitely worse. I've seen a lot through my career. I've seen broken. There's
something about an eyebrow.
A lot of stitches.
Yeah, lots of stitches, random
broken
splitting.
nose.
Yeah,
a lot of
it's
that kind of stuff.
minor injuries here and there. Then there's always the weird freak accidents you find in all the sports.
Yeah.
That I mean, they're far and few between in rugby, but they're there.
Gotcha. So it's a rough sport.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, whenever you hear about it, it's football plus soccer plus a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, no pads.
Yes, very true.
Yeah.
All right, well, I want to thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
It's a real pleasure to talk to you guys,
Thank you.
and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank
and
you.
Real quick, where can we get tickets for this tour?
On goexplorers.com, we have a link on our rugby drop-down menu. There's a donation page and a link to buy tickets for the 2-day event, as well as you can contact Brendan Armstrong or Anthony Twastik for other information to buy tickets and donations.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
This has been On the Sidelines, and we'll see you back to the desk.
Thank you, Anna. It's time for our next break, but stick around. Bethany Lowe will be here with us when we return.
We'll be right back.
You told me that smart was cool.
You always told me to dream big.
To all of those parents who took the time to make raising their children their most important job, we'd like to say,
thank you.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart, thanks, Mom and Dad.
This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
I'm a writing center tutor, and I know more.
I'm an athlete, and I know more.
I'm a professor, and I know more.
I'm in Greek life, and I know more.
I'm an RA, and I know more.
If you see someone who may be at risk of sexual assault, step up and keep them safe. For more information about sexual assault and what you can do to prevent it, visit knowmore.org. Show your support by speaking out against sexual assault by using the No More hashtag on social media.
I can take her home. I got her. Yeah. No, it's really fun. I can take her home. It's no big deal.
Don't be that friend and help put an end to sexual assault.
Welcome back. Now, joining us to explore some headlines, please welcome SportsLine alum Bethany Lowe.
Thanks, Brendan. So let's go ahead and get started. LaSalle's, of course, is really big into basketball. So with that being said, it surprises no one to hear that men's basketball's Jordan Price has been named to All Atlantic 10 second team. The redshirt sophomore sits at second in the conference with 17.3 points per game. Price leads the Explorers in this category while also leading in minutes per game, three-pointers, assists, and free throw percentages. On the women's team, sophomore Jasmine Alston has named A10 All-Defensive Team. Alston led the league with 2.4 steals per game while adding 6.4 points per game of her own. Now moving over to the pool, swimmer CJ Gimple has been named to the A10 Academic All-Conference Team, earning a silver medal in the A10 Championship for the 1-meter dive. The sophomore also boasts a GPA of 3.07 for his biology major. Maybe there's something in the water because the women's team also did well in the classroom, being named Scholar All-America Team by CSCAA coming out of a respective fall and winter season. The women as a whole compiled a GPA of 3.37. Now sticking with the academics, the A10 has broken its record of student athletes on its honor roll this year, naming over 1,400 members to this list. LaSalle itself added 127 of its own, a number significantly higher than the conference average. To make the honor roll, a student has to have a GPA of 3.5 or higher.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thanks for joining us, Bethany.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, it's great to have you back on the show and everything. But
yeah.
first,
how about that basketball team?
Exactly. I know. I'm
and
so excited.
Jordan Price.
Yeah, that. How does it actually work with the all conference, like the A10? Like, do they actually do please tell me they have an all-star game or something where they go into that.
If they don't, they need one. Because I want to see Jordan Price
awesome.
Dunking on everyone and going bananas. Jordan Price deserves this. Seriously, no one should be surprised that this guy got at least second team. He should have gotten first team, in my opinion. But on to the lighter news, better news, even better news than Jordan Price getting an award. Just been reported, men's basketball beat UMass. First round of the A10 championships up in Brooklyn. So how about that? They won 76-69. Jordan Price, of course, 28 points.
Huge. I know, because I just think back to like initially the beginning of the season when we had our first game coming off like the prelims when we were like, oh my gosh, he's gonna score like 30 points every game, and he comes out and he ends up like.
It's like 6 points.
Yeah,
or something
6
like
points.
And it's like, oh my God.
But no, this is huge. This is against UMass, who was beating us twice before earlier in the season. So I'm pretty psyched about that. And I know they are only one seed, like better than us, I guess. Like they were 8th seed, we're 9th seed.
Something like that. But the problem is that we're going up next against Davidson, who is tied at the top of the A10 and is ranked nationally at 24. So that may be a little scary there. But Jordan Price has better points per game. He has over 17, whereas their leading scorer is 16.9. It's like a small margin right there. But I think we could maybe pull this out, and then we'll just see where this goes from here. Hey, maybe even if we win the A10s, fingers crossed, knock on wood.
Come on, please.
NCAA tournament appearance, maybe?
Yes. Yeah.
That would be nice.
Wouldn't that be good? Do you remember that 2 years ago? Oh my gosh.
Sweet 16.
Exactly.
Oh, my stars and stripes. Well, now that we've covered the past, let's look to the future. Mickey Kelly brings us this week's marquee matchup. Check it out.
Hello. Mickey Kelly here, bringing you another exciting edition of Marquee Matchup. This weekend, the softball team will travel to Baltimore for the University of Maryland of Baltimore County Spring Classic. Hopefully the weather will hold up for a fun and productive weekend. They will face Sacred Heart, Siena, and Rhode Island. The ladies are coming off a shaky start to the season with a record of 1-6. Yet, they are hoping that their last win against Stetson can turn this Rocket season around. If the ladies want to do this, they will have to look to two key players, junior Mary Kate Scott and sophomore Christina Pescara. Scott is leading the pitching rotation with a stellar ERA of only .44. She leads the team in 16 innings pitched, in strikeouts with 14, and 5 appearances on the mound. But Scott and other pitchers could use some running support, which brings us to Christina Pescara. Pescara is leading the offense with a .308 batting average, slugging percentage of .615, 17 plate appearances, 3 RBIs, and 1 home run. Now that we highlighted 2 key players, let's look at the keys to the game. First is teamwork. Yes, there is no I in team. The ladies need to work together as a team on the field or at the plate to play against good teams in the Classic. The second key to the game is patience at the plate, for 2 reasons. Many of the ladies' losses came without effective at-bats, and while they have a talented pitching staff, they could not garner run support. Wait for the right pitch, and good things can happen. Don't be afraid to heat up the scoreboard. Leave no base runner behind. Finally, relax and have fun. The ladies must play well, but at the same time enjoy themselves during the Classic. It is not a biology exam, it's softball. Be ready to play, have fun, and bring your Lasallian game. You can catch highlights and scores on the softball team at GoExplorers.com. For this week's marquee matchup, I'm Mickey Kelly. Play ball!
And that just about wraps it up for this week. And if you can't make it out to see the marquee matchup, make sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Be sure to keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by following us on Twitter at SportsLine LTV. We post game updates and sneak peeks into the upcoming show.
Also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV. We welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions about the show on either website.
So for Bethany, Anna, and our entire SportsLine team, I'm Jake Smolinski.
And I'm Brendan Rigney. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the game.